Hello, Jeffrey Seif here. Pleased that you're game to go on a journey into the scripture. I'm glad if you're game to do that with anyone. I'm particularly pleased that you're interested in the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society. The version of the Bible that emerged out of the work of the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society. The Tree of Life version of the Bible is the one that I have in hand right here, and I'm game to take you to it. Again, I'm a Bible teacher, professor by vocation. I'm glad to take people to any version of the Bible, but I'm particularly glad that you're interested in the Tree of Life version of the Bible, because this is in effect is the work product of the entire Messianic Jewish community, presenting to you a vetted text of something that we're really quite proud of, or proud of the Lord, or proud to participate in. Proud's probably not the right word, but we're looking in the 37th chapter of Genesis as we're going through it, and there's a story here that I'm not particularly proud of. I look at the Bible in effect as Israel's family diary, and diaries don't always give beautiful stories, and this one is a story of the grace of God emerging amidst the faithlessness of men. I mentioned that. Joseph was a little bratty, in my opinion. This favored, privileged son, but still, it doesn't mean the other brothers need to give him up for dead, to kill him or sell him into slavery. That's a bit much, and that's, as you probably recall, the story here. There's jealousy. Joseph is something of a favored child, very explicitly in the literature, and his brothers just can't bear it anymore, and they are so chagrined they plot to kill him and don't want to kill him, and they wind up selling him into slavery. It's a very, very tragic story. And when you look at your life sometimes, and when I look at my life, things don't always go well, but God has a way of pulling the rabbit out of the hat, as they say. Even amidst the turbulence of trying times, God is at work in it for his own preferred outcome. That's a good point, by the way. He's betrayed by his brothers in chapter 37, 12 and on. They go graze in the field, and he goes after them, and he's given up for dead and sold into slavery, and his father is deceived in the process. The brothers tell dad that he's been killed. And by the way, that's tragic in itself too, to lie to a father. I've asked my boys, for whatever in life, please don't lie to me, because I'm one of the only people in life that's, me and their mother both are, but they only have their interests at heart, really. And in any case, I don't want to go into that, but the brothers scheme to lie to their father, and to me that is just horrible. Subsequent to that, then, in the 38th chapter of Genesis is a story here that's another story not to be told, the story of Judah and Tamar. I'm interested in the juxtaposition of Judah and Joseph, in part because they're contrasts. Joseph is sold into slavery in the 37th chapter. In the 38th chapter, we have Judah and Tamar. In the 39th chapter, we have Joseph continuing to grow and develop. There is a story. I want to do the 39th, then go back to the 38th to make my point. In the 39th chapter, Joseph is faring quite well, and there's a woman, Potiphar's wife, who's game to seduce him. He'll have nothing to do with it, and she will just turn on him, and she will have him complain to her husband, who I suspect knew that his wife was less than sterling in the way she performed. In any case, Joseph is thrown into prison. Oh my God, I mean, here the guy is just not going to give in to sexual impropriety, and he is thrown under the bus, as they say. That's the story in the 39th chapter. The reason why I mention that ahead of 38 is a story of Judah, who does give himself over to sexual impropriety, the way I reckon the text. And so I see the juxtaposition of the way these two men are performing, Judah and Joseph. To me, it's striking. These, amongst the 12, are the two main characters. Even later on, when Dad doles out blessings, there's a lot of verbiage for Joseph, a lot of verbiage for Judah, and the others just get a sentence or two. These two need to be looked at in juxtaposition, in part, because both of them become powerful in their own right. Joseph, immediately, he is going to emerge in his clan, and Judah later. In any case, Judah in the 38th chapter is confronted with his own what's the word? His own impropriety is the way I'd like to put it. He, as the custom of the day, married off his son to a woman, Tamar, and the son died. And then subsequent to that, he married her off to the next of kin, next son. He dies. Judah says, hey, this chick's a Venus flytrap. Whoever mates with her dies. And so he just kind of throws her into a nunnery, you know. I mean, he just kind of throws her under the bus, pushes her to the curb, and she realizes that if she doesn't do something, she's going to go through life without an heir. And then who's going to take care of her? So Judah's wife dies. Tamar, the daughter-in-law, dresses up as a prostitute on the side of the road, and Judah, is enticed, and he goes and has a fling with her. She doesn't have any money. He doesn't have any money, rather. So he says, look, all I have is this thing and that piece of paraphernalia that belongs to me. She says, I'll take it as and then, when we're finished, you go get the money and bring it, and then I'll give you your stuff back. So that was the way they contracted, and that is exactly what he did. Judah has a fling with her, leaves, and comes back with what they'd agreed upon, but the prostitute is gone. So he figures, oh, well. Time passes, and he hears that Tamar, his daughter-in-law, is pregnant, and he is fit to be tied. He is going to throw her under the bus. What happens is he calls for her, and indeed she is very, very pregnant, and he in effect says, listen, do you have anything to say, any last things that you want to say before I pronounce judgment and kill you for your impropriety? And she says, yeah, here's your stuff back. Sorry, I had to leave. I was in a hurry. He then and there is confronted with the fact that he was the father and reminded of the fact that he had unfairly adjudged that whoever mates with her dies, and there he was alive, and there she was pregnant. And so he winds up looking like the south end of a northbound mule, quite frankly, and looks like an idiot. But he gives her due, and I credit him with that. In any case, the next chapter is a story of Joseph, who, as I'd mentioned a few moments ago, is sold into slavery. We're looking at Joseph sold into slavery, and then there's an interlude. There's a story of Judah, and then we go back to Joseph. He's sold into this household, and he does quite well there. He is sterling in his performance. He serves his master well, and he catches the eye of the lady of the house who wants to have a fling with him. But Joseph is just not going to betray his master and his value and his virtues, whatever he has internal to him. He's just not going to do it. And he is going to attract her. She's going to seduce. He's not going to have anything to do with it. And then she's going to have a fit. Oh my God, look what this servant did. And she is going to vent her fury on Joseph because she was rejected by him. The upshot of that then is that Joseph is going to be summarily tried and thrown into a dungeon for a season. God bless, this guy just has his ups and downs, doesn't he? I mean, his brothers reject him. He goes to work for someone in Egypt, and he rejects him. And God bless, this boy's plight goes from bad to worse. And all I can say is sometimes God uses adversity to get his people where he wants them. As bad as it was, it's in that dungeon where Joseph met a baker and a butler, and those two are going to be the key to his success later on. When he interprets dreams, he's going to be forgotten but then he's going to be remembered. And this clerk who is going to be released from the dungeon, who's going to go back and serve Pharaoh, when Pharaoh is really pressed later with circumstances and dreams that need interpreted, he's going to say, well, I met a guy, and he really had a knack for interpreting these dreams. If Joseph wouldn't have been in that dungeon to help that fellow out, he would have never been in a position. He would have never been known by the steward to Pharaoh, who's going to be able to say later, I know a guy who can help you. It is just striking how the Lord uses adversity sometimes to get us in places where we can get on with the next step of our destiny. Great is the Lord who watches over his word to perform it. And I'm reminded of the verse in Scripture that says that all things work for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. And I want to ask you, can you arm up with a kind of optimism to face the new year, believing that even amidst the turbulence of your trying times, that God can be at work to position you to do his work in you? No good thing will the Lord withhold from those who walk uprightly, is a biblical promise. He watches over his word to perform it, and what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man conceived, what God has laid up for those who love him. Walk with God and see what comes of you. I know we're at the cusp of a new year, and you're probably anxious to discover what the new year might hold, but I know that God has good things planned for you if you walk with him. Sometimes you walk with him into the valley of the shadow of death and despair. Joseph surely did, but wait and see. He indeed can bring you out the other end of it and put you in a better stead than you were when you first began. God bless.